Good morning. Welcome, everyone. Today, I'm thrilled to have Bridget Baker from Bridget Baker Branding with us. And she specializes in helping therapists to build beautiful, authentic websites that really reflect who they are. And so I'm so happy to have you here today.
Yay, I'm happy to be here.
Welcome. Before we dive into some questions and you give some juicy tidbits on not only working with you, but maybe some tips for people who want to figure out how to do a little bit of their own if they're not ready to work with someone. And so I'd love you to just share about you and what drew you to focus working with therapists.
I started working on websites probably about 15, 16 years ago. And my zone of genius at the time was working with coaches. My mom was a master certified coach. So I was kind of starting in that. And then it started translating into over time my own mental health journey and my own proximity to therapy and therapists. And I started going, ooh, this is a very specific lane of how people help people. And I would like to lean more toward that lane. So I started kind of just working with people over time and then obviously understanding, knowing the language, the therapeutic language, and what needs to go on a website for a therapist versus a coach, those kinds of things.
Mhm. Yeah, and there is an overlap, right? Some therapists may not
Mhm.
like that, but a lot of therapists go into the coaching realm, right? So
Yes.
there is some benefits, I think, to coming from that lens too.
Yeah, sometimes I feel like I give them permission to sort of transition into coaching if they want to, because as they're doing branding, realizing for a therapist, it's not really about you, it's about the client, but it's also the space that you're creating for healing for the client, sort of like your office. Your branding, your website is like your client office, right? And there's a little more freedom and flexibility in coaching. So that's why some people
Yeah.
go, oh, okay.
Yes, yes. So much more freedom in different ways, but also that result coming from the place of like, how do we speak to results too, which I think can be a
Yes.
benefit when we're talking about therapy in a website. So first, for someone just getting started, a lot of therapists can feel really overwhelmed with the process of just what do I need to do to start my business? Oh, and now
Mhm.
I need a website. Is Psychology Today enough or whatever? So for someone starting out, like how do you help them figure out what they actually need?
It's a very good question. I think it depends on their level of tech savvy, where they're at, their own capacity. So instead of sometimes we'll work with marketing people and they'll go, you have to do this and you have to be on these platforms, you have to do all these things, and it's exhausting.
Mhm.
And you're starting out, you're wanting to focus on your clients. You're wanting to focus on managing your own capacity, having clients, because that's a lot in and of itself to manage, right? So who wants to be spending all their time and energy marketing their business? So I think to me, branding is sort of this foundational piece. And it's a great place to start because it gets you clear on, all right, who do I want to telegraph that I work with? Who are my people? Like you mentioned, Psychology Today. Of course, Psychology Today is great because people are going to be in there looking for specific things and it pulls up, right? But then once they get to that Psychology Today profile, what happens, right? They go to a website usually, and that can be that link between, ooh, wow, this person doesn't know what they're doing, because they don't have a website. Or so that professional presence after that piece is really important. So I think the key is to get something up, simple, clean, starting with website, because that's kind of your foundation of what you can market to people. People want to focus on social media and YouTube and all these things. Again, who has time to film all that content and do all these? You're not a content creator, you're a therapist. Like, this is what they don't tell you, right? Um, and then also, I think the social media can be the way that you give back. So it is like, free resources, free support for people that can't maybe afford or access therapy, or also just a different audience if you're someone who's written a book as well as done therapy or something like that too, or has a podcast or something. So I think you have to kind of assess your capacity, what you have to market, and what you want to do with your time and energy. So do you hire out? Do you do it yourself? Like all that kind of stuff.
Right. And it doesn't, I mean, I think that's a great point, right? I mean, back many moons ago, we didn't need websites necessarily. In Psychology Today, there's limited number of characters that you can put on there, right? And we're all trying to like fit in the 15-second video box and all of these things. And then to go to a website, it doesn't have to be more than a page or two starting out, right? It could
Yep.
be very basic.
Yes. And the difference between, I think it's, they go to Psychology Today, like you said, it's a short video, it's a little blurb. You can keep changing and editing that to test it out if you want to, but everybody's profile looks the same.
Yeah.
There's no uniqueness in it. And we're humans, right? And especially when people are going to a therapist, they're in a vulnerable space. They need support. They want to feel safe, taken care of in whatever way they need. So similar to, again, how I've mentioned, if you're just doing telehealth and don't have an office or whatever, the therapist office is that safe space. It's that these are the pictures we put on the wall. This is the couch. This is the lighting. This is the whole experience that we're giving for healing. And so someone going from that Psychology Today profile that looks like everybody else to your website is that moment of, oh, wow, I feel safe here. I feel comfortable here. I feel seen. I feel, or the opposite. Oh, wow, not really for me. Okay, bye. Right. And
Right.
so I think even my own personal journey looking for a therapist recently, in network, obviously, but I was navigating and I would go look for people and they'd seem great. And then I'd go to their website and I'd find out more information. I'm like, oh, this is probably not going to be quite a fit. And so it gives more of a sense of who's really a fit, because also you want to work with the people that aren't going to drain your energy, that are going to be in your wheelhouse of people you support.
Yeah. Yeah. And our clients are overwhelmed and only have so much time to really look, and right. And like we want the right clients coming to our consult calls, and weeding out,
Mhm.
because our time is precious too. Yeah. I mean, that's so important. I also don't like, you'll see a lot of times therapists will put, on referral Facebook pages, their Psychology Today. Well, that just opens up for the client. I mean, if the client wants to go there, they can already go there, which one, it's a little overwhelming to have 34 pages of therapists, and you may be in different ones. But then also you've got a plethora more for them to look through once they go once they're directed there instead of to your own unique page.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
So
that's the word you said, unique, is, again, even as a therapist, it's not about you, but you're not presenting this generic
mhm.
space. It's not, you're not in a hospital, right? It's a different environment. You're wanting to create this place for healing where people feel safe. I have a client in the UK who trains therapists in different modalities. So they have more of an awareness of different types of humans, gender identities, all kinds of things like that. And he actually has a guide where you search for therapists in the UK, right? So you get to go find sort of like Psychology Today. And one of the things he said is like, oh, here's all the questions you need to know to ask to find a therapist, right? Because that's the daunting. People go, I don't even know like where to start with this. I don't even know. Okay, do I pick someone that looks like me? Is that biased? Is that weird? Who am I picking? What am I doing here? And I think that's part of what's hard for people to advocate for themselves anyway. So the more information you can give them to make it easier for them, I think is also better. And they come to your website and they're already starting to like work with you technically. They're like, oh, what's it feel like here? Oh, I feel good here, like I was mentioning, or oh, I feel like she's really gonna get me into gear, or whatever it is, or wow, she looks like my mother. I don't think I'm gonna hang out with her because I just can't, right?
Right.
So
Yes. All important things.
yes, all important things.
So for someone who is maybe going to start and create their own initially, what
Mhm.
are three must-have elements that they need to include?
On a website.
Yeah.
Definitely, obviously, depending on what state you're in, credentials, licensing, all those things, all that information, credibility pieces. I think people forget to put those in. They sometimes make it so emotional and feely, they forget to put those things in. So again, they've gotten already some of that maybe from Psychology Today. So it's really being clear on what your messaging is, what your philosophy is. I think that's what you're giving them. A clarity around, again, like if you've curated an office space, then make your website look like your office space. If you've got certain colors in there, certain pictures, reflect that in your website, because again, that's you, that's what they're going to see in the Zoom background, or that's what that's what they're going to connect with. So I think setting tone, brand, if you will, of it. You can go and find templates and things like that. You can do them yourself. They can get overwhelming. But I think really you only need a few pages on your site, and that's the homepage, which is sort of the everything page, I like to call it. You get them there, and it's what do you want to say right away? It's who you work with, where you are, if you do telehealth and local. Again, if I come to your website and I'm in California, I want to see that it's California right there. I don't want to have to go, wait a minute, did I miss somehow in the finding of that this person can't even work in, I'm not in their state, which is unique to therapists, right? Versus again, coaching, as I was talking about. So you are a local business. So that the more places you can put in, like where your location is, who you serve, those kinds of things, the better, because you don't want people to have to be, again, they're coming to you struggling. They don't want to have to dig all over your site. I think another thing that I've seen people do on therapist sites is they kind of dig into them even more. Oh, are you struggling with this? Are you in pain about this? It's like, people no, they just want to like feel at ease when they come there. So it's just sort of like create a welcoming environment, again, like a lobby, or just think of what that would feel like to you and kind of write your homepage content around that. And then the about page is, your experience, anything you want to include in that, any little personal tidbits that you can include that would connect someone with you. And then that contact page, which is depending on if you have a booking software there, or if you need to have them contact, depending on if you're in network, out of network, like what your procedures are with all of that. So yeah, just the basic
Be
3
really
pages.
clear. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. No, I think you bring a good point, right? I mean, we want to know, I mean, the legitimacy, right, of where you license, those kinds of things. That now has been shifted in Colorado, where you have to include that. Some
Yeah.
states already had that, but now so you have to be aware of those things, or just have it on there anyway. And even the location, not just clarity for clients, but helps your SEOs when you have a lot
Yeah.
of information about your location within your page too.
Yeah, it helps your SEO. SEO is changing a lot because of AI as well. So this is another tricky
Mhm.
piece to navigate, why I have not specialized in SEO, because it's so complex. And now
Yeah.
AI is coming into the mix, and it's
Gonna blow it up.
bumping all these things out of the way. You go to Google something and there's all this AI content, and people that have paid all this money for ads, it's like way down on the page now. So that's like a whole thing. But really that is, I mean, how you're going to market it going forward is important. So SEO only does so much. I do, as well as those 3 pages, I recommend now, this is a new AI piece, is adding in an FAQs page. So it doesn't even
Mhm.
have to be in your navigation necessarily, but it's like the nuts and bolts. It's like, what do you charge? What providers do you accept? Where's your office? Like the details.
Yeah.
Because that does help when people are searching for, if they're searching for therapists, East
Mhm.
Sacramento, which is where I live, they would find one in East Sacramento more likely because you've got that on your FAQs page.
Yep. And I think Google likes that too. No, I think that's a really great point, and that we need to answer their questions, right? That are on there on the page, or that they're going to be looking
Mhm.
for. Be really transparent. I think a great exercise for therapists, because we can't always see, right? When we look at our page, we're so in it, whether it's someone building it for us or we're working on it. It's hard to look at it from the client perspective. So even going to look at other therapist pages, not just as competitors, but like, what do you like about their page? If you were a client and looking for something,
Mhm.
how do you feel going into those pages?
And
And kind of
sometimes yeah,
get
it's
a
funny when I
sense.
design websites, I go, what, they're like, this site. I'm like, what do you like? They're like, the font. I'm like, great, duplicate that font. There's tools you can use to figure out what font they're using.
Mhm.
It's not theft to steal their font. Fonts are,
No,
globally
you
available.
buy them. Yeah.
Yeah. But then on the other hand, you want to look unique, right? So it's like, I
Sure.
like this font, but I had one client and she wanted to do something like, well, this person is successful, so let me make it look as much like that person as possible. I said, that's not a good idea.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, we need to think of what, so always be thinking of like what sets you apart or what sets
Sure.
your tone or what's your philosophy. So the website is part vibe and mood and comfort. And it's also then those technical parts we were talking about,
Sure.
the details, the SEO, the
And I
booking.
appreciate you parsing that out. I wasn't mean like go in and steal people's, but just
No, no,
that
no.
exercise of
Hmm.
what does it feel like to be a client and looking in someone else's space and what you might be looking for, and then like transfer that over to yours too.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. Let's not
Yeah.
go steal everybody's
Yeah.
content, their
No,
copy.
look at what's out there. I always, because I get people in this space of what they start getting into. This is like a hidden thing around putting yourself out there, especially if you're new. You start comparing yourself to everybody that's out there, and you start going, I don't feel confident. There's a look at this person's website. They're great. Oh my God, look at this. It's like, okay, well, that's all great. And again,
Mhm.
if you say like, what do you like about that, or what feels good about that, well, great, like create something around that. There's templates and things you can use, and then you have to decide, then do you want to actually do that yourself? Once you start getting in the weeds of it, people go, ugh, this isn't so much fun. or wow, I really love this is great. Like it could be one of two outcomes, right?
I mean, it's definitely a learning curve to do it yourself.
Yes,
And
yes.
and perfection is a lot. I think a lot of therapists are recovering perfectionists, or maybe not yet. And so that too, right? Like it being good enough to launch. I think you talked about a lot of great things to make sure you have those things on there, to just that's the basics, and you can grow from there. And then have someone else come in and recreate it. You just need to get something up.
Yep. And especially another piece, really lean into accessibility and readability over design. So you
Mm,
might love the way this really light font looks and think that looks really cool that you see on some other website. And then you're like, wait a minute, this is like, someone needs to come to this and it needs to be accessible and easier to read and all those things. So there's accessibility tools you can add on, and Squarespace, especially, that I use Squarespace a lot, but it will automatically have some things like suggesting some things, alt tags on your images and things like that. So there are some things that it can walk you through for accessibility, but that readability has to be key over
yes.
style.
That's true, right? Or they're just going
Yeah.
to because we only capture their attention for a short amount of time anyway. We are in a society
Yes.
now that's like scroll, swipe, and so we have to hold their attention. And if you can't read it, they're not going to stay. Yeah,
Mm-mm.
yeah. How when thinking about branding, right? Because you do more
Mm-hmm.
than just websites, and
Yes.
branding is it's not just visual, right? There's something deeper to that. How do you explain what branding does for a therapy practice to someone who has maybe been more clinically focused and doesn't really understand or work with marketing?
Hmm. I think branding to me is this foundational piece. It's more than just a logo or pretty colors or fonts
Mhm.
or something like that. It's like digging deep. It's doing basically, I joke that I'm a website therapist or a brand therapist, because it's like this deep excavation work to really figure out what your values are, what's important to you. And because that kind of grounds you in, oh, I'm going to build, again, you're building it for the people that are looking at it, but you also want to feel confident and good about it. The more you're invested in, oh my gosh, that font is like, matches my dream of whatever, living in Paris or something like that,
Yeah,
it connects you to something, and then you're more willing to share it because you feel proud and good about it. So branding gives you that like confidence, because I think
so
that's the other
true.
part about putting yourself out there is like, you go somewhere, you're going to buy a new outfit, right? Like you go to a conference, or you go somewhere, you go speak and do something that you've never done before, and like you're going to set yourself up to put yourself out there and feel great, right? So it's the same thing with a website.
Mhm.
Branding gives you that, again, feeling of really being you and not being some cookie cutter version of something else, so that you can connect with your people.
Yeah. And I've done mine before, and it passed because you just like you come up with something, but I didn't love it and I didn't feel that. And there's a limitation that I think we have, unless we are really good at that side. of what
Mhm.
we have access to. But what you just spoke to, I totally agree. Like there's connections within mine that I just love, and it trickles out in other areas of my life, right? And so
Mhm.
almost had a moment there. I was like, oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah. But
I
it's
think
that you
it's
like
worth
you
hiring
need to be
someone.
emotional about it. Yeah, because if you're
Yeah,
emotional about it, then you're like, here's this space to come and heal. And it's
yeah,
like that's why you got into this in the first place. Because being a therapist can, there's boundary setting stuff, there's burnout, there's all these things inherent in the work that you do. So again, you really want to work with the people that are most aligned with what you can do and what you can
yeah,
support. And that brand is what gives that space. If you're working with neurodivergent people mostly, you need to make that website have, again, readability, very important.
mhm,
Not enough graphics to keep them interested on the page, because if you just have a huge body of text, they're going to leave, right? So you have to consider your
great point.
audience
Yeah,
in all of these things and the way they learn and the way they absorb information. Some people don't even like motion or movement on websites because of certain neurodivergence. So you have to be aware of these things.
mhm. No, that's so smart to even think about that, right? Yeah,
Hmm.
the needs of your clients on the page. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Are they over
Totally.
60? Great. Okay. You gotta, make it, I don't need to say, but boomer specific,
Sure.
right? You have to
Boomers.
make it okay. You have to put home at the top instead of just assuming they're going to know to click the logo, things like that. Like you have to teach
Yeah.
them how to. That's the other thing on a website. Don't Some people make it so minimalist and cool, and it's like, wait, where am I supposed to go figure out how to book an appointment? Like, and they just get lost in the
Mhm.
prettiness of it all. So the buttons have to be very clear and very stand out. The way they navigate through the site, you have to kind of tell them where to go. Okay, now click here. Now do this.
Yeah.
You're helping them walk through the site as if you're bringing them into your office. Oh, here's the front desk. Here's the box of tissue. Here's a glass of water. Here's like whatever you need to feel
Mhm.
comfortable just looking at my website, right?
Yeah.
That's even,
And anticipating what it is that they're gonna need and how to support them. Oh,
yeah.
that's so good. So I love that. What about like on the, about page, right?
Mhm.
Always therapists, you hear lots of different things like especially on there, what about the websites, tell a lot about you. And then others will say, no, you don't want to tell too much about you. You need to speak to the client, right? But like if you could highlight one super juicy thing a therapist should feature on their about you page specifically that could draw
Yeah.
clients in, what would that be?
To me, my philosophy on the about page, it's like about why you're for them. So it's really
Mm,
about them.
yeah, you're
So it's
tricking.
like, I did all this stuff so that I can help you. I went through this traumatic brain injury so I can help you with your traumatic brain injury, or, navigating medical stuff or whatever. Like, my thing, here's how my experience supports you, not
Mm,
just like, look at me and my PhD. Well, that just rhymed.
yeah,
Look
yeah,
at me and my list of, everything's, right?
yeah. Don't just
Um,
list it.
People don't care. They're not academics necessarily. You might be working with academics, but like, people will put it oftentimes because they're so clinical and academic and they've got all these degrees and these certifications and these trainings. Like, people don't care. They don't know what all that stuff is necessarily. They don't know
Yeah,
what they, without doing deep digging, where these places are that you've trained. That's not as important to them. It's sort of like, why do these things make you qualified to work with them?
yeah,
So always keep making the about page about them and what you can do for them.
yeah. I love the way you phrased that. Oh my gosh. Okay, good. Yeah, that's great. What about different ways, just kind of switching over now? Like let's talking
Mhm.
collaboration, right? We gave some ways that people can kind of get started, but maybe they've got a page, maybe they hate their page. I know when I first made mine, I was so proud. I had so many pages, I had a lot of words. I was so proud of like figuring out WordPress because WordPress is not easy.
Yeah.
I cannot tell you the number of hours. And so on one side, I was proud and I had like put in all this work, but on the other side, I was like, I don't let like the background was gray. It did not connect to me at all. Right. I did not have a brand. Um, and so, we're all in different stages, and I needed to find someone, right, to like fix my life on my web page. So, like, what are different ways that people could work with you given that, right? Where
Yeah.
people are at?
So I
from,
have some good, yeah, I have some good accessible ways to get started with me. The one is which, you know, they can be combined or they can be done separately. One of the ways I have is called Build Your Brand, and it's all of my processes are collaborative. So they're all, you know, me working with you, me drawing you out, me creating with you together in real time. So that's also training you in a way to keep creating, and you're sort of learning the muscles of branding and the muscles of website. So in Build Your Brand, I do 2 sessions. The first session is what I was kind of talking about, that deep dig, where I give you a questionnaire that's very robust and kind of people will go, didn't you ask me that before? And I'm like, I'm asking things in different ways at different times so that we're coming at it from like different angles to really pull out and excavate. Like I was mentioning, like I dig deep with people and excavating those, like, let's really get you into this and excited about this and clear what your values are and clear what you need on the website. And oh, wow, wait a minute. I have like a lot of men over 50. Should I like brand that? I'm like, I don't know. Do you like working with those people? Let's lean into that. Like, right. Like, so that's kind of what the session does. It's sort of like coaching, consulting, you know, therapy of branding. And then the next session is a design session, and we go into Canva together and we create your brand. So I've already got like some information from you. So I start a little bit before our chat, and then I do, you know, logo. We can work with existing logo if you have or something like that, but like building a brand around that. So brand color palette, mood board photos, things you might include on your website, all that kind of stuff. So that's like essentially that brand foundation piece. And then another piece I have is called Squarespace Your Site. And again, it's collaborative. So I'm getting with you on a Zoom session and we're digging into Squarespace from scratch in real time. If you have an existing Squarespace, we can do that too. We can sort of start with like a preview template and you can redo your site in that version. But we're sort of designing together in real time. We're going, okay, we can either build on that brand you already had, or I can go, great, based on who you are and what, you know, this is what I would recommend. How does this feel? They're like, oh, that font's a little heavy. Can we do, you know, we're like literally designing together. And then I go and I design the 3 pages of your website. So home, about, contact, and I give you customized videos on the back end to edit your own and add your own pages and duplicate things. And so it's not just like you're having to go search for Google and YouTube and go, wait a minute, that was the wrong video. That's from 2010 or whatever. You know, like that's like
relevant to
exhausting.
you.
Yes,
Yeah.
relevant to you. Like here, when you do this, when you add in your testimonial videos, because you might be doing videos like or something, you know, here's how you do those specific things on your website. And so then I pass it off to them. They get like a month to kind of work with it, play with it, fine tune the copy, all those things, meet back with them at the end of the month, and we do all the tech pieces and publish it and domain hookup, any of those kinds of like little questions they have on the back end. So that's another piece. And then I have like a full blown 3-month branding and website program where I do everything from branding, website, and also the written copy part. So I collaborate and consult on all of those pieces.
Yeah. I love that though. Right. And then you have an audit too.
Yeah, I
You
have an
offer,
audit
right?
also. That's yeah, that's like I can look at your website and kind of suggest a couple things on a Zoom session too. If you know people go, okay, is this like my website's okay, right? Like let's look at it together. And I'm like,
Mhm.
yeah, but your social media looks like this. And do you like the brand of your social media, your web? Like they're not matching. Let's get them cohesive. So it
Yeah.
even goes into a little bit of branding too on the audit,
Yeah. A little bit
you
of
know.
coaching there on how
Yeah,
to
a
do.
little bit of
Yeah.
coaching and then a lot, you know, and then the coaching, like I do bring a coaching aspect into it. That's kind of that confidence boosting, like building you up, getting you, because it's vulnerable to put yourself out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And most
I,
people are just marketers are like, just put yourself out there, just, you know, and it's like, wait a minute. So I'm more tender in my approach.
mhm. Mhm. Oh, I love
Mhm.
that. Yeah. I mean, so the audit, they already have it, but then I love this collaborative way that you could do some hand holding, right?
Yes.
People like me who really love to understand and then be able to duplicate or kind of continue on,
Hmm.
using that and building
Yeah.
upon that versus someone that's like, I just cannot, I don't have the time, I'm overwhelmed here, just do it and create.
Yes. Hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Okay. I love
Yeah.
that. Um, I had a thought earlier too. I was just thinking about like that versus the psychology today a little bit and like the differences. you kind of talked a little bit about that, you know, of like the benefit of
Mhm.
what they can get from that.
Yeah, I think
Um,
the other thing about psychology today, if someone's going, like, depending on their level of expertise with looking for a therapist, right? So obviously there's an increasing need for therapists, and I think a more of a willingness for people to get therapy. Like, that is the good news about social media. I think it's destigmatizing in a way, all of these things. And so if you just go to psychology today and you're just seeing like certifications, modalities, whatever, that doesn't necessarily make sense to you because
yeah,
you don't know. You don't know if you have an autism diagnosis. You don't know if you have some of these things yet, potentially. And so you don't even really know what to look for, you know? So if you see some things, you go, okay, well, they deal with like divorce or grief or whatever. That's like some starting point. But like, are they going to be able to support me really? And so that's like taking them to the website is that next like
yeah,
reassuring piece. And it's also the booking piece and all of those shows how your back end thing sort of works. If they're not going through network, it just depends. I think those are also two very different lanes: a website for someone who's in network and then a website for someone who's out of network. Because
mhm,
out of network, they're probably maybe not searching psychology today. They're searching something
yeah.
local. They're looking for, maybe in office, even all those kinds of
Well,
things.
and a lot of people who have insurance, they're using their directories from insurance anyway. And
Hmm.
I mean, I would be willing to argue that psychology today is not going to be, it's not as big as it maybe once was. You hear a
Yeah.
lot of therapists that will say, oh, I'm not getting any. And some will say, if you at least get one or two client, it pays for itself. But you're paying $30 a month for this thing that you may not get, but a few clients from, right? There's like no guarantee
Yeah.
from that space. So, I mean,
Yeah. It does give you credibility in an interesting way, though. I think it's like, oh,
mm,
if they're not even on there, that's a little, you know what I mean? So I think
yeah,
it's sort of that similar to if you have certifications or logos or things on the bottom of your website, for example, those give you credibility. So I think even the fact that you're on Psychology Today gives you credibility.
yeah, I guess that's a great point. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you can like link it back to your page. Yeah.
Hmm.
There's this kind of interesting, you know, if I build it, they will come kind of thing, kind of
Yeah.
mentality. So therapists might I see this on Facebook a lot. Oh, I built the site or I like I've hung my shingle. Where are my clients?
Yeah.
Like, where is and I see that in the coaching world too, right? Like now
Yeah.
what? Because you hear all these people talking about all these clients that are coming. We know that's not true, that it doesn't work that way, right? And
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
thinking about marketing essentials even after the weds, why is that important after it's live, right? Because
Yeah.
you just like let it sit.
It doesn't just magically, yeah. Oh, yeah, like you said, if I build it, they will.
I
Yeah,
wish that were
it
true.
is like a storefront. It's like just because your shingle's out doesn't mean anyone's coming. You have to then externally market on top of that. So SEO is some of that. Like if you have blogs that are still effective in that they do, you can write blogs in a way even as if like someone's not reading them, if that makes any sense. So you
I feel
can
like that's a lot of
really
them.
like put a lot of rich information into that blog post that goes out to a search engine. That's also good content that you can keep updating because search engines like that. They like content that you keep updating. So you can make and they're their own standalone resources, which is great. That you can either refer your clients back to, or you can just use just to make a difference in the world and the altruistic sense of what you do. But yeah, there has to be that external marketing. But so you're not going to want to go market yourself if you don't have a great website. So that's where
Mm,
you get into that. You're not going to want to give someone your business card in a networking event if so. It
yeah.
depends kind of how, some therapists work through referrals mostly. Some again are depending who they're working with, how they're getting referred, again,
It's
obviously
just a piece of
relationships
the
with,
puzzle.
yeah, it's a piece
Yeah.
of the puzzle. So you're getting referred from a psychiatrist, right? So then what do you have when they come there? It's a piece of the
Yeah.
puzzle. So yeah, you do
Yeah.
have to do that external marketing piece. It's not just they magically just show up to your
Yeah.
website.
Yeah. 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 And I would just add, because I think this isn't always explicitly said. And when you're not working in the marketing field, when you're not a website developer and people are coming to you, that I know I didn't know this necessarily, but we think, oh, our website is being built. That automatically means that it's like full-fledged, all the SEOs are like, I mean, to a point, right? There's some work that's done,
Yeah.
but
Hmm.
there is more that can be done that
Yeah.
maybe people might need an SEO specialist for, which is a whole nother thing, right? And so, but I think, at least in my mind or some other people's minds, sometimes they think automatically, right? Well, Google, I'm going to be ranking on Google and everything is done for me. And that's just not, you're paying someone to build you a website
Yeah.
and make it beautiful and have this branding, not necessarily all these other bells and whistles.
Right. And the people that are ranking higher than you have paid money to rank higher than you. They are
Yeah.
paying for Google ads. There's a therapist that I spoke with recently, and she told me her advertising budget was like $2,000 a month. But doing that has gotten them a full client roster. So it's
Yeah.
like you have to decide somewhere. And they're not really going out and doing a lot of networking. So it's like this is sort
Mhm.
of, they're very introverted. So it's like this is the way. So um yeah, it's, you always have to put yourself out there.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, right? It depends on, yeah, are you an extrovert or an introvert too? How do you like to connect with people? As we know, the main ways that we draw in client referrals, and then our peers too, right? Other therapists or doctors and things like that are usually number one for us. It's not, all they just came in off of Google, right? So,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. And, there was a client I worked with. I did this Squarespace your site with her, and she was new, and she was leaning into like her Sri Lankan heritage, because she was like, I live in the Bay. I speak two languages. Like, this is a very specific niche. And so she really leaned into that. And I thought that was great. And I was like, that's what you're there to market, like that you understand the cultural heritage of having immigrant parents. Like, all this stuff was very specific to the space that she could hold for people. So, and the language also.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
That made me think of something. I'm gonna just ask this off the cuff and see what you think. But
Yeah.
I know you hear a lot about like it's important to niche, but then you can also hear people talk about don't niche yourself out. Don't
Yeah.
niche yourself down too much. Do you think that that's possible, or does that depend?
I think, again, this is like partially a capacity issue, because I'll talk to therapists and they'll go, I'm getting burnt out of like one specific person, getting burnt out of dealing with people that have trauma, for example. Like, I just want to deal with people that are like more in the self-actualizing, like fine-tuning their life.
Mhm.
They're like, I don't really want to deal with someone like going through major depression. That's fine. So then you need to say that, because otherwise your door is open to everybody, right? So
Yeah.
I think it's like being clear about your capacity. Just because you can work with everybody doesn't mean you really should.
Yeah.
So then the niching can also become, you can lean in fully into, oh, I'm an ADHD therapist. Like, you could fully lean into that, for example. Um, or you could say, wow, I mostly am for like women going through transition. So that could be a number of things, right?
Hmm.
But it's sort of like, you get to kind of keep honing and shifting that, as
Yeah.
because your life evolves with every
Yeah.
therapist patient that you have. You're like, oh, you know what, I've been working with chronically disorganized people for a while, and I think I need to like go a different direction. Or, wow, I really want to expand this, and because the chronically disorganized is more turning into ADHD or something, that I'm realizing that I want to get more certifications in that. Like, you lean into it, and so then your website and your marketing needs to lean into that too.
Yeah.
So that's really what it is. The niching is just you saying, because again, I always say, like, I could do a website for anybody, right? I joke, I could do it for a plumber, which I have, but it's just not really like my favorite thing.
Yeah.
It's not my favorite
Yeah.
conversations to have. It's not my what makes me excited to go to work, right? So I think that's what you have to keep in mind.
Yeah. And I want to just highlight something that you said, because I see a lot of, and I've heard a lot of people come into my Facebook group in particular that say I'm burnout or whatever. And it makes me think, just as you said, right? Maybe just changing your niche, right? You still love helping people. There's still purpose in that. Maybe it's I don't really want to work with clients with depression anymore. Maybe it's I'm really lit up over here. And so finding the other thing that lights you up, and then shifting that. So I just wanted
Yeah.
that? Because I do think that's
Because
really,
most therapists get into therapy because they're dealing with something themselves initially, or they've got family members that have, had mental health challenges, and they get into that world a lot of the time. And then
sometimes.
they go, cool, I've been working with women going through a divorce long enough. I think I need to like move out of this, or I'm in a different place in my life, where now I'm older, I can support women in midlife or whatever, and what that looks like, and that kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Okay. Yeah, I agree. And we can evolve and grow too.
Yes.
Um, before we kind of just get into how people can work with you and start to wrap up, any final, well, I want to alter this question actually. So one of the things that, you said is you audit websites. What is,
Mhm.
instead of, and we can turn this into a tip / common mistake. What do you see maybe is a common theme that you're giving feedback on these websites?
Uh, too much, too
Hmm?
much stuff,
Too
too
much
many words,
talking.
too many.
That was the
I have to
feedback I
scroll.
got.
Yeah. Scroll and scroll and scroll. And I'm like, okay, I get your philosophy. I get that you're brilliant. I get all these things, but I'm like, how do I just book a session? How do I like talk to you? If I have to scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll, I'm already worn out.
Yeah. You know what I
So,
wonder if that is too? I would say, and I'm not going to speak for every therapist, but I think a lot of us, and this can come from scarcity mindset and often the places that we've worked, especially coming from community mental health, our own stuff, whatever. But I wonder if that's a need to legitimize ourselves or to really, to kind of come out of that imposter syndrome, especially when we're building a brand new business that we're coming into.
yes. And it's also, I would say, not only too much, but too much jargon. Too
Mm,
much, because again, if you're a new therapist, you're in that more of that academic language. You're using all these therapy speak words that people don't
yeah.
necessarily know. So
Yeah.
they're reading it and they're going, I don't know what that actually
Talk like your
means.
clients. Yeah.
Talk to them how you talk in the actual session.
Yeah. 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 If you're going to cuss, maybe throw some cuss words on there so they know that you're a cusser.
Mhm. And that you're a space for being okay for that, because
Yeah.
yeah, I got rid of a therapist because had explained something that had been in my life, and I had like 2 sessions with her, and she went, oh my, and I was like, I think I just shocked her, and I don't think that's good. I think I'm going to be too much for her. I think I need to go to someone else,
Yeah. I
right?
usually get the clients that came from those therapists.
Yeah, because what I was seeking, I'm now in menopause, but I was seeking someone that I could talk to like about menopause that was older and things like that. So I was like, oh, I need a woman like who gets that. And so
Yeah.
she was a little older than me, but it was like she was a little older than me. And so she was a little uncomfortable with some of the things I was talking about.
Oh
Yeah.
my goodness.
Yes.
So, oh, that's so good. So many good tidbits and so many pieces of wisdom, I think, throughout this in terms of building the online presence, right? Like you kind of talked about that digital hospitality of like, and does it match,
Mhm.
right? Like if
Does
your
it match?
background, if your virtual is wild and your website is calm, like how are you building some continuity and, really speaking to
Mhm.
clients, not being too wordy, right? There's so many pieces that you shared today. Wherever our therapists are that they're wanting to, potentially work with you, how do they find you?
I'm on Instagram at Bridget Baker Branding, and then also my website is bridgetbakerbranding.com. I'm on
Easy.
LinkedIn too, but I'm not there as much. So
Sure. Easy to find you.
yeah.
Yes. Okay, great. This has been really helpful. I think it always makes me go back to think about what are some other things that I can tweak too, and just sharing, your wisdom and being able to empower others to
Yeah.
whatever stage they are. Yeah, in building their business is so important.
Yeah. It's
So,
my thing under working with therapists is I really want to support people getting therapy. So
yeah.
having a good website helps people get therapy.
Yeah,
So,
help them find us, get the help they
uh-huh.
need. Yes, yeah,
Yes. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. We appreciate that, and we appreciate. I know I love promoting businesses that work with therapists and supporting therapists too, and people that really can get us. I think, especially in the marketing world, that's really important. So, thanks again.
Yeah. Thank you.
those of you who stuck around and watched this whole thing, thank you so much. Make sure you like, comment things that maybe you learned that were new to you, anything that you would have a takeaway that you want to do for your next steps, and stay tuned for more. Appreciate you.